Good evening, everyone. You're watching The Playing Field, and we'd like to welcome you to our 2-hour mock draft special. And the guys on set are going to take you through the first round of their mock NFL draft. I want to introduce you to our fantastic talent tonight. We've got Dan I and Matt Bishop. And then we have our very own Commissioner Sebastian Edmond, who is on standby, going to give you the picks as they come on in. And then in the office across the hall, we've got Matt Stone and our very own NFL insider, Ryan Farmer. And we're actually going to send it over there because we're going to get a feel for what Ryan Farmer's got on his initial big board. So take it away, guys.
Thanks, Alicia. We'll be in here throughout the draft, talking about our initial big board, talking about any possible trades, any possible moves throughout the draft. So Ryan, let's get to it right up there at number 1. Khalil Mack, the linebacker. Why Mack over Clowney?
I think a lot of big boards have Clowney number 1 overall. I think there are a few holes in his game, and he's not as solid overall as Mack is. Mack is a Patrick Willis type impact player that could be around for years, many Pro Bowls in his future.
Now, a lot of people think that Blake Bortles will, in fact, be the number 1 quarterback to go. But I want to talk about that number 8 spot right there. Derek Carr, the quarterback from Fresno State, has been flying up draft boards in the last couple of weeks and months. Why Carr over a guy like Johnny Football at number 9?
Johnny Football carries a circus with him, and yes, he's a great player. A lot of risks. He doesn't have the bulk that guys like, Russell Wilson have. Derek Carr, few teams are scared of his name, his brother David, bust. Texans don't want to take another Carr, but I think he's got the best overall arm in the draft. He can throw it anywhere on the field.
Now, I have been hearing a couple of reports, nothing confirmed yet, for all you Lions fans thinking at number 10 you might trade up to 4 to get Sammy Watkins. But what would a pair of Sammy Watkins and Megatron do for the Detroit Lions offense?
I don't necessarily like the Lions trading up to get a guy like Watkins. They got a lot of holes in that secondary, but you tell you what, you get Megatron and Watkins on bookends on that Lions offense, that is scary in that division with Rodgers and Cutler throwing the ball.
Let's move over to here, number 1, the Houston Texans. They need a quarterback. Any possibility they trade down, or will they grab a guy like Mack or Clowney, or even Bortles at number 1?
I tell you what, I think the Texans are spitting a lot of, saying that they want Clowney a lot. Maybe get someone like Atlanta to sweat a little bit to move up and get their man. Atlanta, you see here, really needs a D end. And so will they be aggressive like they were with Julio Jones to get their man? The Texans might be, pressuring somebody to trade with them.
We shall see. Only a few minutes away from the beginning of the draft. I'm going to send it back to Alicia, who has trends with the...
Talk a little bit about Mike Evans and what he'll bring to this Tampa Bay team. Offense.
This is a very great pick.
Smart.
No, this was awesome. This was my favorite pick so far in the draft. Tampa Bay got rid of Mike Williams. They traded him to the Bills in the offseason. They needed more help. They need help at quarterback, but we've been harping it all day that you don't take quarterbacks right now with the talent at quarterback level. Mike Evans is going to be a fantastic wide receiver in this league. Him and Sammy Watkins are going to be talked about for years.
I think the interesting advantage of Mike Evans over Sammy Watkins is a durability factor.
Yes.
This is a guy that can bang him up, take a hit, yards after contact, whereas Sammy Watkins very much so relies on his speed on slant routes and go routes. That's where you're looking. But Mike Evans, just look at the way he cuts through the middle, able to keep his composure, get to the end zone. He has those kind of plays where you're just that, he's going to be that guy and he can be a number 1. Very similar to what you saw last year. The Bills, they're coming up in just a bit. They took Robert Woods in the 2nd round. He was a big guy, and you know what? He's a solid, durable guy that can continue to be it. Sammy Watkins has the flash of Megatron. Mike Evans, not a safe pick by any stretch of the imagination, especially with skill positions.
Adding him to Vincent Jackson on that offense, now all they need is a quarterback and they're a competitor.
Absolutely, and you know what? For Tampa Bay, playing where it's warm, he's used from playing in Texas. Now he's going to go over to Tampa Bay. And you know what? He's someone that it's almost the opposite of what you would expect to see in a quarterback-wide receiver combo with Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans, where the quarterback is the flashy, outspoken one, and the wide receiver is the quiet, goes about his business. That's the other thing is you're getting no nonsense with Mike Evans.
Absolutely.
He will make it happen. He'll make it work, and he will be your guy for years.
Okay, now what's next in the draft for Tampa Bay? You mentioned a quarterback. What's next?
I think they have to start looking at quarterbacks. Derek Carr, we've been talking about him all day. Teddy Bridgewater maybe. Now we're getting to the point where we really have to be nitpicky with our quarterbacks. I don't think Tampa Bay's quarterback pick will be their franchise quarterback. So wait until the 2nd or 3rd round, get a quarterback that will compete with Mike Glennon, because Glennon should not be the starter of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers anymore. So that's where I see Tampa Bay going from here in the draft.
crazy season, and Matt Stone actually put this video together. It's a season in review. Take a look. Interesting to see what the league does moving forward, you know, if they do change.
You got anything like that? No? Good. Okay.
But now it's time for a break. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at the NFL schedule that was released this week and see which games you should mark on your calendar. We'll be right back. It's time to take a break. When we come back, a huge deal between the Tigers and their star player, and the fellas will debate if the refs got it right in the Eastern Conference battle between the Heat and the Pacers. Stay tuned. You're watching The Playing Field. Coming up after the break, the madness in college hoops is the craziest it's been in a while. And it's only the first and second rounds. We've had some blowouts, close games, overtimes, upsets, and a few Cinderella stories.
Unbelievable.
All that and more next. Stay tuned. You're watching The Playing Field. Experience Florida Gators. All right, guys, let's talk about this game. The SEC Player of the Year, Scotty Wilbekin, only scored 4 points, and UConn is 8-0 when DeAndre Daniels scores 18 points or more. He was the first player since Carmelo Anthony to score 20 and 10 since in 2003. So what impressed you about UConn and how they get it done against Florida? Interesting, but actually we've got some breaking news about the #1 pick, so I'm going to send it over to Matt in the office. What do you guys got?
And welcome back to The Playing Field on WTOP 10. The Houston Texans are still on the clock for the NFL draft with the St. Louis Rams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Cleveland Browns right behind them. Every expert has a different approach on who goes where and when, and Dan and Matt are no different. Houston went from a playoff team to a dud and have a handful of needs to address with a slew of options in front of them. What do the Texans do with the #1 pick, and what happens from that point on? Let's take it over to Matt Stone.
That does it for the first half of our show, but we still have plenty more to talk about, including both NBA and NHL playoffs. If you don't want to miss it, you're watching The Playing Field.